13th century, they were hurled down, and their places made desolate. Here, too, is Rheinstein, on the very bank of the river. Its early owner was hanged by the Emperor Rudolph. One of the Prussian princes has fitted up the fortress in magnificent style, and I learn that there is no palace in Europe that can boast of such mediaeval splendor. Everything that can serve to illustrate the Dark Ages is carefully collected for this charming spot, which seems a rival to Stolzenfels. Just across, on the opposite bank, is Assmanshausen, famous for hot baths and red wine. Here you see terrace upon terrace, up to the summits of the hills, and some of these, the guide books say, are 1,000 or 1,200 feet. You will often see 15 or 20 of these terraces supported by brick and stone fences, and the terrace is often not more than 6 feet wide, and the soil and manure have to be carried up on the shoulders of the vine dressers. The value of this region arises from its aspect, owing to the bend of the river, which gives this left bank, as you ascend, a direct exposure to the sun at midday. The vintage of the Rhine, I am told, is generally gathered in during October and November, but it is put off as late as possible. Grapes were introduced here by the Romans. We now come to Ehrenfels, in its venerable decay, the beautiful tower of Rosel, and the ruins of Bromseberg, while on our right are the ruins of Watzberg, and just beyond we come upon Bingen of the Rhine, at the mouth of the Nahe, and close by is the celebrated Maustherm, or Mouse Tower, said to have been built by Hatto, the Archbishop of Mayence, in the 10th century. Southey's fine ballad has immortalized the legend. Never did town present sweeter aspect than Bingen, at the foot of a pyramidical hill, which is crowned by the ruined castle of Klopp. In a church here lies Bartholomew of Holshausen, who prophesied the fatality of the Stuarts and Charles II's restoration, warning him not to restore popery. Bingen has, I think, some 5,000 or 6,000 inhabitants, and has a great trade in wine, which is collected here from all the vineyards around. Rudesheim lies on the other bank, and its famous wine comes from grapes growing close to Ehrenfels. Next come Geisenheim, also famous for wine, and soon comes the renowned village and vineyard of Johannisberg, or Mountain of St. John. Here the river is wide again, perhaps 2,500 feet, and we begin to see fine meadows. This is where Prince Metternich has his seat, where once was a priory, and various have been its vicissitudes. In 1816 it was given to Metternich by the Emperor of Austria. The mountain contains only 75 acres, and the choicest wine comes only from vines growing near the castle, on the crown of the hill. The wine of the village is very inferior to that of this estate. The place has but few inhabitants, say 500 or 800. The house is white and not very castle-like. The grape is called the Rieslingen. Here we found several islands. Erbach and Hoddenheim are both famous for vineyards, and between them grows the famous Marcobrunner, and the Steinberg vineyard, a fortune to the Duke of Nassau, lies upon a slope of the hill close to the convent of Eberlach or Erbach. This convent was founded in 1131, but is now a lunatic asylum. The churches here are very fine. Opposite the shore lies Rhine Island, and forms a noble park. Wallach, with few inhabitants, is regarded as the commencement of the Rheingau, or wine district, along which we had coasted. Biberich, on the Duchy of Nassau, now comes upon our view, and the noble chateau of the Duke presents one of the finest mansions on the river. Here some of our passengers left for Frankfort, and took the rail, but we wished to see Mayence, and so went in the boat. The city looks finely, and its red towers and steeples make quite a show. This city belongs to the Duke of Hesse-Darmstadt, and is garrisoned by Austrians and Prussians in equal force, generally 8,000 or 10,000. Exclusive of these, the population is nearly 40,000. We walked about, and looked at the fine cathedral, which was sadly shut up by houses and shanties. It was too late to enter it. You may be sure, Charley, that we found out the monument to John Gutenberg, the inventor of movable types. It is of bronze, and was designed by Thorwaldsen, and stands in front of the theatre, once a university. After perambulating the town till weary, we came to the bridge of boats, 1,666 feet long, and which connects Mayence with Cassel, a strong fortified place, where the railroad depot is located. At this bridge are several boat mills, or tide mills, where grain is ground by the tidal action. They look strangely, but work well. On the bridge we met many Austrian officers in rich uniforms, most of them young, and, I thought, very aristocratical in their bearing. Our dinner on board the boat was as profuse as the day before, and I must not forget to tell you that we had an English lordling, son of a former premier, on board, with his lady, on their matrimonial tour. He was the worst mannered young man that I have seen in Europe, and when he had ogled the company sufficiently with his glass, and manifested his contempt pretty plainly, he and his betook themselves to the interior of his carriage. He was quite young, and may grow better behaved. We took the cars at dark, and after riding 22 miles found ourselves at Frankfort, having passed through Hochheim, where the vineyards are so costly that the railroad company had to pay well for the passage-way. Here we put up at the Hotel Angleterre. Forgive this long letter, but I could not well shorten it, and I want you to know just what we saw. Always yours, James. End of letter 41. Read by Sybella Denton. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information, please visit LibriVox.org.